Do, do, do. Perfect. We are on for lunchtime yoga at 12:30. So I'm just gonna let you arrive, and you might even arrive long after this session is over. But even if you are arriving later, you can watch this at any time. So welcome to some yoga. If you have yoga blocks and a belt, that's great. If you don't, that's absolutely fine as well. We might at some point potentially use a surface like two blocks, or it could be a chair, it could be a sofa, just to kind of raise the floor a bit or lengthen our arms. So just so you're aware of that. But we will just give it another minute or two. But if you have arrived, then lie down in Shavasana. And Shavasana, you basically just lie down on your back. If your lower back is uncomfortable, you can keep your knees bent like this. Otherwise, just extend your legs out, feet apart, thighs just rolling out, arms by the side. But if this is uncomfortable in your back, then just go ahead and bend the knees. Just staying in your relaxation variation for a few more moments. And I know sometimes it takes a while just to get used to not doing anything and to be still. So just honor that time that you're just settling onto the mat, that you're arriving for whatever you've been, doing. That's our miss. I'm back here again. So whatever you've been doing, you are just resting, taking a moment to digest what you've been up to, and just arriving to your body, to your breath. And in our session today, we are focusing on alignment. And we did that yesterday in the evening class as well. But what I really want you to think about is how this feels in your body. So this is your experience of how your body moves. So as you're resting on the floor, just notice how your legs are. Just become aware of how your legs are resting on the floor. Notice if they're rolling out or rolling in, and how your right and your left leg might be different from each other. And notice how this feels where the thigh bone moves into the hip socket and how the pelvic bowl rests on the mat. And from the pelvic bowl, you can continue that line from the tailbone, the sacrum, all the way along the spine to the back of the neck, the back of the head, the shoulder blades, and the arms. So we are simply in relaxation pose or Shavasana, resting on the back with the legs bent or straight, and noticing how this feels in the body. And so our focus is the movement of the thigh bones in the hip sockets. So as we are lying on our backs, I'm going to move to the mat. You'll hug your knees to your chest, but if your lower back lifts up, then bring it back down again. You don't have to have the knees all the way to the chest. Hold on to your knees, so right hand on the right knee, left on the left. And then take the knees away from each other as far out as they move, and then away from you and towards each other, and then back to you, out to the side, and circling the knees. And you notice that your knees are simply bent. There's actually no movement in the knees, but the movement is the thigh bone moving in the hip socket. So we'll circle the opposite way. And again, you just notice this moment, how that movement flows in the body. So you don't need to hold on to your knees. Maybe you flow without holding to the knees. But what you want is just that flexion in the knee, no change, but the movement thighs in the hip socket. Beautiful. Then let's bring the feet to the floor. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. And then square your hips again, so you're not twisting all the way. Your pelvis is still level, your spine is still level. You can stay here, or you can bend your left knee towards you, maybe grab hold of the back of the left thigh or the shin. But just like we were in Shavasana, your back is nice and straight, or in its neutral position as it can be in this shape. And the movement again, thigh bone in the hip socket, the knee is bent, but there's no rotation or change in the knee. Just take a couple of breaths here. Lengthening the tailbone. And at the same time, it is as if the left knee moves towards you, but the right knee is slightly away from you. But no pain in the knee or the ankle. Bring the left foot back to the floor, uncross the leg. Neutral position of the legs. The hip points, the thighs and knees and the toes are all in the same direction. Line with your shoulders as well. This is our neutral position, whether the legs and knees are bent or straight. So bend that left knee in, cross the ankle over the right leg. So now again, the knee is still in that neutral position. The movement here is in the left hip. You can bend your right knee towards you, so same variation as you enjoyed on the other side. So now our left leg, the knee that's sticking out to the side, is in an external rotation. And as we start to move through the flow today, what I want you to consider is that really our knees still feel safe and aligned, but the movement is really in the hips, at the hip socket. There should never be pain in the knee joints or strain in the ankles. Keep lengthening the tailbone, even space in your right and left side. Bring the right foot down, hug the left knee in. We are back into a neutral position, both feet to the floor. Roll to your right side. Sit all the way up to a comfortable seat. You can bring your palms together in front of your heart. Maybe take a moment to close the eyes. So today, as we move through the flow, we are staying aligned, we're staying in a structure and support, but with fluidity, creativity, and always moving from our hearts, our breath, with compassion. Let's take a deep breath in. Exhale it out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Bring the knees together. Extend them out in front of you, uncrossing the ankles. So just for a moment, think of your shoulders, your hips, front of the thighs, knees, the middle toes, all in alignment. This is Dandasana. Extend your arms above the head, lengthen out of the pelvis. So this pose is basically our downward facing dog. If you notice that you round your back, then go ahead and bend your knees and then feel the length through the spine. So if your variation is that you're rounding the back, sitting like this, but it works in bending the knees, then really extend. Then you know that in your downward dog, until you warm up, and potentially for many downward dogs, you'll keep your knees bent. So we can keep that nice alignment through the spine. Okay, so let's start to move. We'll come onto the hands and knees. You can spread your fingers out. So again, find structure and alignment through your arms. Lift up into your shoulder blades. So find a bit of solidity, just like we did in the hips. We also want solidity and stability through the shoulders. Tuck the toes under, downward facing dog. And then again, remember that nice long back. You're not rounding the back. You're not arching the back. You're finding that neutral spine, even if your knees are bent. So we can all start with bending both knees, lifting the hips high. Then you can choose to bring one heel towards the earth and then lift it up and the other heel towards the earth. So just for a few moments, just feel that pulsation, moving the legs rather than the hips. So you're moving the legs, finding extension through the back of the legs here. Wonderful. Let's inhale into a plank pose, shoulders over the heels of the hands. So again, here you can remain with your legs super strong and straight, or the knees come to the floor. If you choose knees on the floor, you can see that my knees are further back than my pelvis, but nothing has changed. The pelvis stays the same place. It's just whether the knees are straight or bent. Lift up into the shoulders, press into the balls of the feet. Inhale here, lower either halfway down or all the way on the exhale. Inhale, you can lift your heart into a small cobra, or you can press the hands down the top of the feet, lift your heart down, upward facing dog. So your choice. Downward facing dog on the exhale. Let's just do this flow one more time. Inhale into a plank pose. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, your back bend. And a downward facing dog. Walk the feet to the front of the mat, standing forward bend. Outer edges of the feet parallel. They can be together hip distance. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, and exhale, fold. Now in your forward fold, again, you can bend the knees. Toes, knees, thighs, and hips and shoulders basically aligned. As if you had railway tracks on the mat, so you're kind of aligned with that. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Bring the hands to the hips as you exhale and rise to stand. Hands to the center of the chest. Inhale, reach your prayer to the sky. Exhale, standing forward fold. Inhale, lengthen through the chest and fold it. Take your right leg back into a lunge, left leg back, plank, and lower down. Inhale, lift into your back bend, cobra, upward dog. On the exhale, downward facing dog. Now from here, lift your left leg behind you, toes are pointing down. So still in that neutral position in the hips. Downward facing dog again. Extend the right leg behind you, toes pointing down. Draw the knee to the nose, round it in. Step the foot between the hands. Left foot forward. Inhale, look up to lengthen. Exhale, fold it deeply. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up to the sky. And hands to the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, draw it down. Inhale, lengthen through the chest and fold it. Take your left leg back. Again, look down just for a moment. Hips, knees and toes and your shoulder all in that neutral position. Even your right knee towards the chest, all in a neutral position. Step into your plank pose. Lower halfway or all the way. Inhale, cobra, upward dog. Downward facing dog. So same neutral position for the leg as we extend the right leg behind us, toes pointing down. Bring the foot back to the earth. Left foot extends. Bring the left knee to the chest, round it in. Left foot forward. Right foot forward. Inhale, look up to lengthen. Exhale, fold it. Inhale, reach all the way to stand. Hands to the center of the heart. Beautiful. So as we're standing here, either feet underneath the sitting bones or together, so whatever works in your body. Just again, notice maybe with the eyes closed. How does the body feel? Notice if you have a tendency to drop into a hip, then take it back into your center again. And with the eyes closed, it's easier to notice the little movements the body is doing to find equilibrium, to find balance. Sometimes we're more to the front of the feet, sometimes to the back. Sometimes we collapse inside or out. So take a moment to notice the feet firmly on the earth. And allow those pulsations of breath and movement in the body. This is your neutral position, just like the Dandasana when we were sitting with the legs extended in front of us. The only movement was moving from the pelvis. Perfect. So we'll be a bit more creative in the hips again. So let's bring the palms together. Press the feet to the earth. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold it forward, standing forward then. Inhale, look up and lengthen and fold it. Step into a downward facing dog and bring the knees to the floor. So now just like we did when we were lying down, we're going to move the hips. So we'll start with the right leg. Lift the right foot towards the ceiling, then right knee all the way out to the side, knee to the chest, and then all the way behind us again. So circling the right leg, just like we did when we were lying down, we're circling both knees. And circle the opposite direction. See if you can keep both arms evenly straight and supported as you explore the potential for movement in that right hip. Wonderful. Lift the right foot to the ceiling. You're back in a neutral position again with the leg, but the foot extends up, your heart extends forward. Stay here or take your left arm behind you. So if you could grab hold of the foot or indeed grab hold of the foot, lift your heart. You're in a back bend, but you're still neutral. Step the right foot between the hands. Lift the chest up. Draw the tailbone down. Arms to the sky. Bring the hands to the front of the mat and either keep your hands on the floor or fingertips on the floor, or if you have blocks or any other support, you can keep your hands on blocks. It gives more space. We'll straighten out that front leg. Find knees and toes pointing upwards. Again, we're in that neutral position. You can stay high, fingertips on the block. You can walk your hands further forward. Bring that right knee forward. Step into a downward facing dog, or anytime a child's pose. Stay where you are, or inhale into a plank pose. Lower down to exhale. Inhale, lift your heart. Downward facing dog. Bring the knees to the floor. Take that left foot to the ceiling, rotate it out to the side and all the way underneath you. And again, keep the arms strong and supported. And yeah, the pelvis is going to move, that's okay, but we try to keep the awareness of the movement in the hip socket. Circling both directions. Bring that left foot behind you, heart extends forward and upwards. Right arm behind you and maybe grab hold of the foot, lifting your chest. Release the right hand down, left knee to the chest, step it forward, lift your heart. Find stability through the pelvis. Maybe you stay here, maybe you lower down, maybe arms to the sky. Bring the hands to the earth. Straighten out that left leg, hips over your right knee. And breathe. Bring the left knee forward, downward facing dog. Beautiful. So finding your breath here, you can stay in your downward dog or child's pose, or again you float through a plank pose, lower down on the exhale, inhaling to a back bend, and we all meet in downward facing dog. Wonderful. So let's step the feet a little bit closer together just to find our center line. Now extend that right leg behind you. We had the toes pointing down before, but now you can lift the hips, but keep lifting that left hip away from you so you're not collapsing into your left side. But you can come into that external rotation now through your right leg. So opening up and finding space. We're going to find a neutral position for the legs again. So turn that right hip down, toes down. Bend your right knee towards your nose, hug it in. Now we'll come into a side plank variation. So we'll keep that left hand on the floor, left little toe side on the floor, and then extend the right leg out in front. We're still in that neutral position. So right leg extends in front of you. Bring the knee back in, and then swing to the other side. Right leg out in front of you. Come back into your plank pose. Lift the right leg towards the ceiling. Again, open up into the hips and find a little bit more movement. You can bend the right knee as if you could touch your left buttock with your right foot. Let's square the hips again. Step the right foot between the hands. Take your left foot forward, standing forward bend. Inhale, lengthen through the spine and fold it to exhale. Inhale, reach all the way to standing. Hands to the center of the heart. Perfect. So a little bit more movement for the hips and the pelvis. So let's enjoy on the other side. Grounding down through the feet. Inhale, reach your prayer. And fold it forward to exhale. Inhale, lengthen through the spine and then fold it all the way. Take your left leg back, right leg back, downward facing dog. So let's try this on the left side. So feet together, find that center line. Lift with the hips, press the hands to the earth. First in neutral position, toes are pointing down, you can see it. If you look to your foot, then the external rotation. But instead of collapsing down, keep lifting that right sitting bone away from you. Arms evenly straight. You can bend the knee, but keep that right leg in a neutral. So if you notice your right knee is turning in or your thighs turning in, find a bit more stability. Square your hips again, that left hip drops, knee to the chest. We'll come into that side plank variation, right hand on the floor, little toe side of the right foot, left leg extends out in front. Bring the knee back in, hug it in, and then the other side. So the right leg stays straight, and we flex in that left hip. Bring the knee back to the center. Let's extend the leg behind us again, just find a bit of space. Bring the knee to the nose, step the foot between the hands. Right foot forward, standing forward bend. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Fold it forward, grab hold of your opposite elbows. Allow the spine to become nice and fluid. The crown of the head releasing, and you're breathing. So just come halfway up. For most of us in this variation, we will use blocks really to come into a half forward bend. So my spine is more or less parallel to the floor here. So if I use blocks, hands on blocks underneath the shoulders, I can remain in that position. You might not have blocks, but you may have a sofa, and you can do the same on a sofa. Or if your chair is higher, you can be on your forearms. You can use the wall. So you think about having a neutral spine that's parallel to the floor. So that's the variation, almost like we are with our arms and legs in a downward facing dog. Yeah? So you might have to shift around a bit, but it's just nice to have that support. So what I want to explore is that neutral position again for the legs. So again, think of shoulders, hips, front of thighs, knees and toes in the same direction. And that's what we will explore. So bringing your hands to your sofa or your blocks. Extend through the chest, shoulders roll away from your ears. You can step the feet together for balance. And we'll keep that neutral position as the right leg extends away from us. So just slowly flow the leg behind us. And as we hold on to the floor, we notice, or we can look down at our toes. We notice if the leg extends outwards, and then we square it back down again. We notice what the left leg is doing. So ideally in that neutral position, it might have to shift a little bit, which is absolutely fine as well. Bring the foot back down, half forward bend, and extend that left leg behind you. So if you notice that you lift your hip, just notice what that does to you, why you do it. Is it because there's tension? Is it simply because of how your bone structure is? Is it something to do with what's going on in your right thigh, the standing leg, the knee? Is it because your ego wants to lift that foot higher and then there's not stability? Bring the foot back down. Inhale, look up and lengthen, and fold it forward as you exhale. Let's walk into a downward facing dog. So find your way back to your mat. If you're off the mat, just find a little bit of length. Step the feet together, extend that right leg behind you. Again, you can choose to open the hip, finding space and lightness through the hips, but still stability through that left side. Now square the hips, bring that right knee towards the right arm, We'll do an external rotation. So the knee moves out to the side, the foot to your left side. So I'll show that facing forward. So the knee moves forward and your foot moves to the other side. So as you can see, the knee movement, there's nothing changed. The movement is in the hips. So keep lifting that lower leg. Lift up into your shoulders. Hug it in. Bring the knee to the nose. Extend that right leg behind you. Step the right foot between the hands. Turn the back foot flat. And we'll come into a warrior two pose. So in our warrior two pose, right leg forward, left leg straight. We have that external rotation through the right leg. Left hip, thigh, knees and toes in the same direction. So left leg more or less neutral. Right thigh bone rotating the right hip. But no problems in the knees because the movement is in the hip socket. Straighten both legs, extend through your right arm, triangle pose, Trikonasana. The right hand can be on your shin, the floor, a block. And again, just notice the alignment of your body. Are you rotating that right leg outwards? Or is it collapsing inwards? Bend the right knee, warrior two pose. Bring both hands to the right foot, downward facing dog. Perfect. And again, just take a few more moments here. Bending one knee, stretch the other heel down. Just finding a little bit of fluidity in the body. Then we'll get the movement through the left leg. So we will play around with the left leg here. So with the left leg, extend the left leg towards the ceiling. Again, you can choose to open up into the hip. You can bend the knee. Notice what's happening to your right leg as you do that. Can you still keep that balanced? Then square your hips, knee towards your left arm, foot towards the right side. Round your back a bit, so engage your core to hold this variation. Basically, it's a variation into pigeon pose, but we are floating. So the movement is in the hip, your knee, your ankle is all beautiful and fine. So just play around how far the foot comes forward, back, higher, lower. Square the hip again, left leg towards the ceiling. Again, you can open it up. Bring the left foot between the hands, back foot flat, warrior two pose. Perfect. Lovely. Straighten both legs. Extend your left arm as far as you can. So keep that spaciousness. Left hand to your leg. Up block. And breathe. So I just invite you just to gaze down and notice, how do you choose to place your foot? Where is the weight in your left foot and in your right? Can you sense or even see your left knee, and is it pointing in or out or in neutral position? The left thigh and the left thigh bone rotating out, externally rotation in the left hip. Inhale, warrior two pose. Bring the hands to the hips, straighten the legs, turn your toes to the long side of the mat. So even if the legs are apart, they're basically in a neutral position. Outer edges of the feet are parallel. Let's come into a standing forward bend. Press down through the feet and feel the energy rising up your thighs into your pelvis. Allow the sitting bones to rise and open, and the spine to release and lengthen. Bring the hands underneath your chest in a half forward bend. And go ahead and bring the hands to the hips, halfway up, and rise all the way up. Wonderful. Step the feet together, just shake it out for a moment. We will enjoy one more standing pose, but this time that external rotation. So neutral position, shoulders, hips, front of the thighs, knees and toes in the same position. Whether our legs are bent or straight, when they are bent, they're basically still in a neutral position, even if the thigh bone rotates out. So that's why we shouldn't really have pain in the knees. Now we will come to an externally rotated variation. We'll come into half moon pose. So again, if you like to use your sofa or your chair, you can have your hands on the sofa or chair. You can use your block, or you can simply use the floor. We'll step the feet into like a small, very small triangle pose. Right thigh is rotating out. That's going to be the standing leg. Thigh, knees and toes in the same direction. The movement that's opening is the right thigh bone in the right hip, but we can see it through the left side. So left hip, point, thigh, knees and toes, pointing in the same direction. So let's bend the right knee, bring your right fingertips to the floor. You start to extend that left leg behind you. So if you think about left hip point, thigh, knees and toes in the same direction. The external rotation is in your right leg. And so again, you don't need to be, sometimes people are saying this, imagine you are between two planes of glass. But if you don't have that mobility in the right hip, you're going to injure yourself, or might be too much pressure on the sacroiliac joint, just towards the back of your buttocks. So if that left hip drops, that's absolutely fine. The movement is in the standing leg. That's the external rotation. So if you come in and out of the pose, not a problem. Let's shift all the way back. Standing all the way up. Shake your legs out, stepping them together. And we'll enjoy on the other side. So again, if you're on your chair, your sofa, then just be in that direction. Left toes are pointing out, right toes slightly in. So again, really honor that left hip. What is the potential for movement in the left hip? That's all we need to think about. Bring the left hand to your block, to the floor, and the right leg extends. Half moon pose, Adho Chandrasana. Slowly float all the way back down, straightening the legs, turn the toes in the same direction. You can shake it out a little bit, move the hips. So maybe just make little figure of eights with the hips. So we can, now there might be a little bit more movement in the knee joints. In yoga, we sometimes think so much of the physical alignment, but And that supports us because we don't want injuries, and we want to support our joints, and we want to strengthen the muscles and create flexibility. But there's also the energetic alignment. And if we become too rigid in our minds or in our physical body, it's very easy to break. So we want to stay fluid and find a bit of ease in the body. Lovely. So let's bring the palms together in front of the heart. Let's extend the arms out to the side, all the way above the head. And hands to the heart as you exhale. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, hands to the center of the heart. This time, take your feet wider. Now the external rotation for both legs, thighs, knees, and toes slightly out. Inhale, reach up. And then as you exhale, the hands come to the heart and you start to sit in a squat. So if your knees don't want you to come all the way down, you just stay halfway. Otherwise, lower all the way into Malasana, a yogic squat. And from here, go ahead and sit all the way down. And just stretch your legs up again. So we're back in that Dandasana just for a short moment. This is like the Tadasana mountain pose, but sitting. So toes, knees, and thighs upwards, spine nice and long. But this time just circle your ankles. Allow that movement to travel all the way up into the hips. Perfect. So I do want us just to open up a little bit more in the front body, and we'll again do that from a neutral position of the legs. And just swing the legs around and come all the way onto your knees. We'll come into Ustrasana, camel pose. So as we're talking about alignment, think of the hips and the pelvis being aligned. So you're not starting to shift back, but you stay high. You can tuck the toes under. Bring the pubic bone to the navel, the tailbone slightly down. Bring the hands to the sacrum at the top of your buttocks. Lift through the heart, shoulders roll back. Now you can stay here. You can bring your hands to your heels, but keep lifting your heart to the sky. And breathe. And slowly rise all the way back up. Either sit to the heels or in a child's pose for a moment. So we'll do this twice more, and you go wherever you need to go. If you do have a wall close to you, we will do this against the wall. So if you do this against the wall, you'll bring your knees as close to the wall as you can, the pubic bone towards the wall, and then keeping the thighs on the wall, you'll come into your Ustrasana. So imagine the pubic bone pressing against the wall, heart lifts. And slowly rise all the way back, sitting to your heels or child's pose. So I know we really just talked about the movement of the thighs and the hips, but take that support from your grounding through the pelvis and the legs all the way up into the rest of your body. So we will do camel pose again, either against the wall or on the floor in the middle of the room. Lift through the chest, tailbone down. So find extension through the spine. There should never be pain in the lower back. And slowly make your way back up. Sitting to the heels, maybe hands on your thighs or hands on your body. Just taking a moment here just to notice how this feels. Maybe you have to wiggle around. If you're sitting cross-legged, you can move around a little bit. So whether you're on your heels or cross-legged, just take your right arm behind you, left hand on your right knee, spinal twist. It's very gentle. Come back to the middle and then left arm behind you, right hand on your left knee. And come forward again. Wonderful. And so remember, we were in our plank pose variation with the knee forward, like a pigeon pose. That's what we will do again. So just for a moment, come back into your downward facing dog, lifting the hips high. Extend your right leg behind you, and again, you can enjoy that openness if that feels good. Square your hips again, bring that knee forward towards your right hand or right elbow. Bring the left foot forward and then slowly release the lower leg to the floor. Walk your left leg behind you. So it's the external rotation in the right leg. So no knee issues here. If you do need more space, then take a couple of cushions or a yoga block and take them underneath your left buttock. Then there's more space for the knee as well. Left leg is neutral, hip, thighs, knees, all in the same direction as the shoulders. Here you can fold forward and just breathe. So we'll stay here for a few moments. So if you need any other variations, then you can lie down on your back, hugging that right knee in, just like we did in the beginning of the session. We'll stay in pigeon pose for a little while longer. So know that you can always come out. You can always modify this variation. Walk your hands towards you again, lift with the chest. Stretch back into your downward facing dog. You can walk on the spot, you can be on your hands and knees, so any variation that feels good. You can flow, plank pose, lower down, back bend. But with ease and with your breath. Let's all extend that left leg behind us. Again, you can open the hip, finding space, openness, lightness in the body. Square the hips, bring that left knee forward, the foot out to the right side, And then place the leg down, walk your right leg behind you. You can lift up just to find a little bit more of alignment and stability. Bring something underneath your left buttocks for more support. And then you can fold forward. Just staying in your pigeon pose for a few breaths. Or your variation. Just 2 more deep breaths here. And you can walk your hands towards you, stretch into your downward dog or hands and knees. Bring it around a little bit. So again, just whatever your body needs to do. Stretch the legs out. Now from here, we'll come all the way down to the floor. So go ahead and lie all the way down. You can bring your hands into a prayer and either hands towards the sky or out in front. So coming into this prostration pose, so just releasing, surrendering everything to the earth, just letting it go and breathe. And here you can find softness. So allow the buttocks to relax, the thighs, the lower back, your chest, your jaw, tongue. And when you're ready, we'll roll all the way onto our back. Bend the knees so the feet are on the floor. And from here, you can just have the feet maybe that distance apart and drop your knees to your left side. Right arm can come to the right side, spinal twist. If this feels absolutely fine, you can take your left foot just to the outside of the right knee. But no pushing or pressing, it's just a gentle twist. And uncross the legs, bringing the knees to your right side. And again, here you can choose to bring that left foot just on the outside of that left knee. You can gaze to your left side or towards the sky, whatever feels good in your neck. Arms extending out and knees bent or elbows bent. Softness and ease in the body, in the mind, in the breath. Release the legs, bring the knees to point to the ceiling. Now, options, either you can stay here, just knees together, feet apart, so just letting the body rest here, which feels very supportive for the sacrum and the lower back. So if there's any issues with your lower back or your sacrum, just stay here. Or you can bring the soles of the feet together and the knees apart. If you choose this option, you may want to have blocks of some cushions underneath your thighs for support. Your hands can be on your body, by your side. This is your relaxation pose. So find a variation that feels wonderful for you. So I'm going to have the knees apart, but I will take some blocks underneath the thighs, so underneath the knees, just for a little bit of support. So I can truly just relax and surrender and breathe. Just letting go, letting go, letting go. I invite you to stay in your relaxation for as long as you are able. That sense of just surrendering and releasing, especially after yoga practice, is so healing. But we are coming up to the hour. So if you know you have to move around again and have other plans, then I invite you to slowly make your way up to a comfortable seat. And bring the palms together in front of the heart. And again, just taking this moment to truly honor your body, your energy, your breath, the time you've taken out to practice. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Complete breath out. And so again, when you're ready, start to move the body, opening the eyes. And so again, I thank you for joining me here on the yoga session for lunchtime yoga. And the yoga sessions will be in the Facebook group. Some of them will be on Instagram as well, but most of them will be in the Facebook group. So the link is in my profile. And you would be very helpful if you comment or if you share the post. That's much appreciated. And obviously, if you choose to want to contribute financially, there's a link to my PayPal account as well in the profile and on the post on Facebook. So that's also very greatly appreciated. But I'm looking forward to seeing you at yoga. Let me know what else you want to play around with, what else you want to do. So namaste. I think the Instagram is switching off now. So that's that one. I will come back onto Instagram. But yes, let me know if you have any comments. Let me know. And yeah, sometimes you can just keep on practicing and keep talking. So I will keep it short now. But I'm aware that that some of you have to have lunch, go back to work, whatever it may be. You might watch this on replay, which is wonderful as well. So even if you're watching on replay, if you have comments, then put them in the chat box or the comment box. And also, if you have any request, in my latest newsletter, I put out a short survey just seeing how the online stuff works for you, and if you have any requests or timings. So if you haven't done that, please fill it in. And again, that link is also in my profile on yogaembodiedonline.com/hello. So yeah, that's it. So thank you so much for watching. Namaste. Thank you.